Hi, everyone. I'm doing this for the first time in a while, coming in here late because I want to talk to you about networking as I enjoy my green drink since I can't have caffeine, alcohol, or anything sinful because of my migraines. Okay, so why I want to talk to you about networking is because I have had more than 30 conversations in the last month with a lot of executives who have shared with me that the reason they're not where they want to be in their career is because they don't have access to the right network or the hidden room. And if I had a dollar for every single person that I've worked with or haven't worked with who has shared this with me, I would honestly be rich. Okay, maybe not a dollar, maybe like $100. Look, I'm not saying that you shouldn't network, and I'm not saying that networking doesn't work. The danger is allowing your existing network to be a barrier when it comes to finding your next role. So, here are situations that I see people in when they tell me that, I feel like I'm in a disadvantage because I don't really know the right people, and this is why I'm not landing the role. The first one is you've been at the same organization for more than 10 years. And pretty much all the people that you know are either at that organization or within the same industry. The second one is if you are pivoting industries, let's say you want to go from, I don't know, government to private sector. Like one of my clients, Elisa, she pivoted from uh, nonprofit policy to landing at Meta. And she felt like all the people that she knew were in that world. The third one is if you are new to a country, maybe you relocated, even city, actually. I have a lot of people who tell me that they've moved cities and they've had a tough time landing a role because they did not know anyone in that city. Maybe you're an introvert like me. I've worked with a lot of executives who are quite introverted and they've spent a lot of their career with their head down, letting their work speak for itself, focusing on the delivery, focusing on achieving amazing outcomes. And because of that, they haven't had the chance to expand their network, to build more relationships because they've been busy working. So, my question to you, what do you do? How do you overcome this? Are you going to keep telling yourself that because you don't know anyone, you should just give up? You shouldn't, get that fulfillment that you deserve. You shouldn't advance your career. You should just give up? Absolutely not, right? So let's think about how you can access those networks. Because a lot of people come on calls and tell me, "Well, how do I find those hidden networks?" Well, here's the truth. There isn't a magic list of hidden networks, and no one, I don't care who you talk to, no one has a magic formula for you to turn someone that you've never met before into someone who believes you and trusts you. Because that's what it essentially comes down to. The reason people feel like they need to rely on their network is because they rely on that network to create that connection. And usually if that person is someone that the hiring manager trusts, obviously you're going to have a better chance and they do some of the heavy lifting for you. But if you don't have that, what are your options? Okay? Now, you can work with executive recruiters and placement agencies. Yes, that's an option. That's a channel to attract the right opportunities to you. They may have a list of companies, but let's be honest. It's not that different from applying for a job. There's a long list of people that they have on their roster that they got to place. And so hiring managers, may pick, a whole bunch of other people rather than you. And yes, you can apply for jobs, but we both know And let's be honest, at your level, especially director level and above, a lot of the jobs are not posted. So what are your choices? What are your choices? Because you need to create more options for yourself. You can't just, stay where you are. The option that has always helped every single client that I've worked with, more than 1,000 professionals, all the way to C-level. I've worked with directors, I've worked with VP level, I've worked with C-level. I even worked with business owners who wanted more, clients. The magic answer is you need to create options for yourself by becoming great at shifting people's perception of who you are. Okay? So I want you to think of businesses, right? At your level, you need to think of yourself as a business owner because you're an executive, you're a leader. You're not like entry level, you're not intermediate. Think you got to drive your career similar to how an entrepreneur would drive their career. So think of how a business, generates interest, generates demand, generates clients. How they do this is by obviously advertising and putting, talking to people about their services and products. Now, I understand the challenge of doing that because a lot of you, you don't have it's not like you can just show the hiring manager a tangible product. Essentially, what you're trying to communicate is a service, is an intangible service that you offer. So the only option is to tell people about what you do, but how you tell them about what you do shouldn't be reciting your resume, right? It should be in a manner that shows them the behind the scenes of what you've worked on. So really what it is, if you think of even consulting companies and organizations and how they generate interest from a person, from a cold lead that doesn't know them or isn't a referral, is by sharing behind the scenes, also known as telling the story behind their services. So the key here is that you gotta learn how to tell your story, how to tell your, I call it, experience story. So why do people have trouble with this? Because a lot of times I ask, a lot of executives who chat with me, okay, so um, do you get recruiters who view your profile? Do you get interviews? Why aren't you getting interviews? And they say, yeah, but I tried to, apply, or I've gotten interviews, or I've had screening calls, but I couldn't go beyond that. And when I ask them, like, do you feel that you are great at communicating your value in a concise and clear way? And a lot of them say to me, yes, I'm great at it. I don't have problems with it. And then when we sit down and we practice, the answer has so many issues. One, the mistake that I see, and I literally had 2 mock interviews with clients yesterday. One of them was practicing her interview answer with me. And one of the issues that I saw is that there's a lot of jargon and there's a lot of assumption that someone on the outside who doesn't know anything about your organization, doesn't know about the product, doesn't know about the services, doesn't have the context, can actually comprehend the value that you deliver, right? So a lot of it is when you are inside your head for so long and you've been delivering the work that you do for so many years, you take it for granted. And I call it unconscious competence. It's very difficult to put words to something that you've been doing for so many years. And I bet you, if you were advocating for someone that you've been mentoring or leading, you would actually have a much easier time doing it because you're on the outside observing the person. it's not like you've been observing yourself all these years as you've been working. And so there's a lot of, the biggest mistake that I see is we minimize, our value, and we assume that someone on the outside, whether it's a decision maker or someone you're networking with, actually gets the significance of what you've done. Hey, look, I get it, because I will tell you, as a business owner, and as someone who has a personal brand, sometimes I take for granted some of the things that I helped my clients with and the nuances. And I got my little child here barking at me. Let's see if he wants to come. Okay, no. All right. Yeah. So what I was saying is that, sometimes it's like the curse of being an expert. What you do comes so naturally to you that it's really difficult to describe it. So back to one of my clients that I was coaching yesterday, she launched this amazing initiative where she literally prevented the organization, within the world of transportation. The product that she launched prevented accidents from happening. And the way she said it was just so minimal, so easy to kind of minimize from a recruiter perspective. But when her and I talked about it, I said, well, why are you just brushing this off? You got to spend more time, describing what would have happened if you weren't involved through your leadership. And she said, well, we dodged a huge scandal in the news because of that. So that's the thing. Sometimes you need someone on the outside to ask you those questions so that you remember your story and the significance of it. And I bet you, when you go to an interview and go into those rooms and have those conversations, you're going to be more noticed and people are not going to take you for granted. So, to keep things short, since I have a little monster who's barking and getting my attention and it's late at night, I wanted to say that, I understand how difficult it is. And this is something that I love helping people do in a fun way. Sometimes you need a framework in order to tell your story. Sometimes you need to practice. And so I am launching a workshop next week on Wednesday. And if you are interested, DM me, comment workshop, let me know. If you think about great networkers out there, people who have a huge network, ask yourself, well, why are they great at networking? Why do they have a huge network? And the answer is always going to be that it's because they're great storytellers and it's because they're great communicators. So if you don't have a choice, or if you feel like, you don't have a network and you don't have a choice, I mean, the only choice I see that you have is working on your ability to become a great networker. And part of getting people to pay attention to you, listen to you, and build meaningful relationships with you is being a great communicator. A lot of people tell me that they feel awkward when they reach out to people. Well, that's because you struggle with knowing what to say and structuring it in a way that is engaging. So why not just fix that, right? So workshop next week on Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern. If you're interested, I can send you the details. It's going to be 90 minutes. It's not going to be a webinar. It's going to be a hands-on, workshop where you're going to be working alongside my clients. You literally get a day pass to actually come to a workshop that my existing clients would be attending. And we would all be working on building an experience story that you feel proud of, that you can use in a networking conversation, that you can use to describe your experience on your LinkedIn profile, on your resume. And honestly, when you learn how to tell your story, it actually increases your confidence and you realize how much value you bring to the table. And it's all about the way you frame it and structure it. So the workshop is going to be around $70 USD. Okay. Because yes, this is going to be high value. This is not going to be, like I'm going to lecture you and you're going to leave. This is going to be us building this together, carving the space and the accountability to build this, and getting direct feedback from me. So let me know in the comments, put in workshop if you want to learn more. If you want to take a stab at guessing what the heck it is that I'm drinking, feel free to let me know. It actually doesn't taste so bad. Let me just drink a little bit here. It's good. It's a recipe that my dietitian shared with me. So, take a stab at what you think it is, and I can maybe respond with the recipe. All right. Thank you, friends, for your patience, especially with a crazy dog that's been barking. Yeah, I look forward to answer your questions. Maybe tomorrow I can also talk about some of the mistakes and pointers that executives go through based on my experience when it comes to telling their story and their messaging. And by the way, in the workshop, I'm actually going to focus on the answer to the question, tell me about your experience, because there's an art and science to how you structure it. I have clients who tell me that once they share their answer in an interview, whether it's with a recruiter or hiring manager, the interview gets cut short because the way the answer gets structured gives the recruiter or hiring manager pretty much everything that they need, especially in like a 20-minute conversation. So there's a magic formula to this for sure. Okay, I hope you have a wonderful night. Thank you for listening. If you found some of this, useful, I would really appreciate it if you give me a like, because what that's going to do is it's going to help someone out there who's struggling with this, who's confused, who keeps telling themselves that they're doomed if they don't have a network or if they're not great at networking. And I really want to change that. I really want people to feel empowered. It's something that is very important to me as someone who felt disempowered in my career for 15 years. This is why I do what I do, because I want people to have freedom. I don't want people to feel like they're at the mercy of an organization. And I want people to feel valued and get higher pay, because I know that that can change your life. It can improve the quality of your life. It can help you provide for your kids, for your family. So this is why I like doing what I do. Okay. Thank you so much. I hope you have a great night.